Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and welcome to Knife AQ episode 145, the knife series where I answer all your questions, sharp or dull. And this week, we're going to see if I can sharpen a knife blindfolded. What are you doing over there?
Safety.
All right, everyone, if you're new to this series, here's the deal. We take your questions in the comments section below these videos and we kind of comb through, pick out some good ones for future episodes. So if you've got a question and you think it might be a good topic in a future video, just leave it in the comments below. Thank you much. First question today comes from BGLK. Hey, here is a question for you. Come to the right place. You have talked about knife sharpening systems many times in the past, but which one would work for someone who is blind? I have one made by Spyderco, which I think you recommended many times, the Sharp Maker, yes. But it is challenging to use because they cannot see the angle of the knife against the sharpener. All right, my first inclination here would be, I see what you're saying, so I should have brought a Sharp Maker here for illustration purposes, but you've got the two vertical sticks, or sticking up in a V formation. You hold the knife blade up and down like so. Very easy to use because you can always see exactly which direction the knife is pointed, provided you can see. Yeah, I can see exactly where that would be difficult. I would go with something with angle guides would be my inclination. WorkSharp makes a ton of products with that sort of feature. Here is just one of them. This is the bench stone sharpener. It's about 50 bucks. You've got 3 different grit progressions, 320 diamond plate, a 600 diamond plate, and a fine ceramic. And it's a pretty cool unit. You've got a 25 degree and a 20 degree angle on each side. Simply lay your blade flat against that, and then you've kind of got the angle. From there, it's kind of going to come down a little bit to feel, however. There's 2 things you can do with this WorkSharp. It can be completely rigid, kind of like a standard bench stone. It's also got this switch here on the side, which, wait, did I do that right?
Other way around.
Other way around. So this way, it's locked into position. When it's like so, it can actually tilt. So as you move the blade or get to the belly of the blade, if it were rigid, you start to have to lift a little bit to get the angle correct. This kind of mitigates that somewhat. So that might be a good feature for the visually impaired. But I did mention the word feel because, preaching to the choir here, because you can't see, feel is going to have to come in significantly. And when you sharpen, whether you're sighted or not, there is a lot of feel involved. And you may not need angle guides once you get the hang of it. I had that thought, and then I said, all right, I better put my money where my mouth is. And therefore, you know, this is a variant of my personal favorite freehand sharpening system. It is simply a rigid leather strop, and I've got some 800 grit wet dry sandpaper here. That's usually where I start unless something needs significant repair. I'm going to try and sharpen the blade on this here Victorinox Compact without looking. Now it's not terribly gone. It shouldn't be too hard to raise a burr and get this done, but I just want to see if we could do it. And that's why Safety Seth is over here in the corner, just in case. Come on, Seth, say hi to the good folks at home.
Hi.
All right, back up, get out of here. He's going to make sure I don't do anything really stupid as I do this. And we probably won't want to show this in real time. I'm saying that to Thomas right now because this might get a little boring. We'll just have to see how this goes.
It's all in the edit.
So here we go. I'm going to have this right here so I can't see anything. Seth's going to be right here just in case I start to get a little stupid. And I'm going to go through the 800 grit, turn it over for my black loaded leather compound, and then the green, and then we're going to see if I can cut some fine paper with it. Wish me luck. All right, so can't see anything. Seth, can you verify that I can't see anything? Don't throw anything at me though.
Oh, well,
I was about to do a scene gesture.
All right. Actually, hang on. Oh,
okay, we are verified.
We're verified. Pause. Let's move. We'll reset after we do this, but let's move the sharp knives forward out of the way here. The sharp knives are out of the way. I have my things in front of me. Here we go. All right. Okay. So since I can't see where I'm starting my angle, wow, this is kind of weird. I'm going to start by, I don't care if the sides of this blade get a little messed up. So I'm going to basically lay my blade flat and then come up to what I think the angle should be and see how it goes. I'm kind of holding my finger here right at the behind the heel or the back of the sharpened edge, just so I have a reference point. I can kind of see or feel, I keep using the word see, where we are. And it'll be rough at first, but it'll start to smooth out, especially on a steel like this. It's not going to take much to get there. And that's where that feel comes in. All right, let's see how the burr is doing.
We ain't gonna see anything.
Let's feel how the burr. All right, I'm missing most of the belly. I can feel just a hint of a wire edge along the straight edge portion, so let's kind of adjust accordingly. Now this is fine with the edge pointed away from me. Safety Seth is gonna have his work cut out for him when I turn to the other side. Hopefully I'm not rounding my tip over too much.
No, that's what I do.
Oh boy. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. And this is so weird. I realize I'm not going flat a couple times. I use this device a lot, so I might have some ingrained feel already. Oops, don't know what happened there. That's all right. Belly section needed a little attention, so hopefully we're getting where we need to go here. Oh yeah. All right, we're gonna turn it around. I can feel that burr, kind of the metal pushing over to this one side pretty consistently. So I'm gonna turn it over, get it to the other side until I can feel it the same way, and then go back and forth a few times, which is gonna be interesting. Won't it, Seth?
Mm-hmm. I got my eyes on your thumb there.
Please do. Losing my reference point here. So thanks to the plunge grind at the back of this blade, I'm also able to kind of feel when it kind of hits the edge of the stone as well. Stone, you know what I mean. Not an actual stone. And we're getting there. I can feel it on the belly. I'm missing the heel this time around. Interesting change up from the other side. And this is why we didn't go with something like D2.
Be here all day.
I'm getting there. I'm getting close. I'm getting close. It's not quite there. You getting bored, Seth?
A little bit. What am I saying? Safety's never boring.
Nice. Now I would be using more of this sheet of sandpaper here if I could see. I'm being a little conservative perhaps in the amount I'm using in the name of safety. Maybe I need to go steeper. I feel like I should have the burr by now. Let me bring it up a little bit. Now we're getting there. All right, okay. All right, back over. All right, here's where the fun begins. Alternating sides. All right, now we're gonna strop. All right, so I always keep green compound on the smooth side of the leather and black on the rough, so I can easily tell, not so I can easily tell by feel, but now because I can't see, I can easily tell by feel which side is which. And I'm just gonna do 20 strokes per side on each of these. We can probably speed through this. The nice thing about using a strop like this is there's more forgiveness. You don't have to be right on the same angle you were at the stone because the leather is going to kind of curl a little bit. All right. I will pull this. Whoa, it's so bright in here. Woo! Moment of truth. All right, we got a piece of paper here.
Paper.
I noticed we didn't show it cutting beforehand, but there we go, ladies and gentlemen.
You could have made it a lot worse.
I could have definitely made the edge worse. And like I said, the edge wasn't terrible beforehand. It would still cut, and it could still use some improvement right now. There's a few slightly rougher spots, but there you go. It's doable. Definitely looks a lot cleaner. You saw the edge before. It's not quite as rough as it was. And I didn't do this for it to be some kind of spectacle. It's not supposed to be that. It's not supposed to be, making light of anyone who, does deal with visual impairment. But it's more of an illustration of the fact that so much of sharpening, especially freehand sharpening, but all forms of sharpening nonetheless, so much of it is a feel thing. It's just a hugely important part of knowing what you're doing. Because if you're not feeling the way your knife blade is interacting with your sharpening medium, you're not really paying attention and you're not going to be doing as good a job as you could be doing. There we go.
Would you say certain knives are better for a blind sharpening than others?
Yeah, Swiss Army knife works great because it's it's a little easier to manage. I'd hate to imagine doing that with like some S90V or something like that. Anyway, there we go. Seth, thank you for your safety.
Safety!
All right, next question comes from Big D's02. DCA recently broke my Benchmade Mini Bugout. Unfortunate. She's getting shipped off to Oregon to be fixed. However, what would you suggest as a possible replacement while I wait? Crossbar lock and American made preferred. Thanks. Sure thing. That is the good thing about Benchmade. They do usually have a very good, very robust warranty, so I'm sure they'll get you sorted out. You could go two ways with this in my mind. You could either, you say replacement, so are you looking for something, similar quality, similar levels of materials, whatnot, or are you looking for something like a cheaper backup option to the Mini Bugout? I've got an option both ways for you, both American made, as well as another even less expensive alternative, just as another point of reference. The new Gerber Assert strikes me as a pretty good option. And I like this because it has a sub 3-inch blade like the Mini Bugout, but it has a little bit more to hold on to. So here's your Mini Bugout. Blade length on these, 2.82 inches. We're at just shy, like 2.98 on the Assert. As you can see there, just a little bit more sharpened edge, but a fair bit more handle to hold on to. A little bit extra length, but also a handle design that just feels more secure. I have slightly larger than average hands, and it's a 3.5 finger grip for me on the Assert, but my pinky grabs the tail end of that knife really nicely, and it feels in hand bigger than the visual difference between this and the Mini Bugout actually look. About $175 for this. Same kind of blade material. You're dealing with S30V and injection molded handles. Deep carry clip on both of them, reversible on both of them, which is good. I mean, it's always a good thing for your crossbar locking knife to be ambidextrous, since the lock itself is. Really nice little knife. You've got a movable thumb stud that could actually be removed completely if you want also. I think the blade cutout in there is perfectly adequate for doing thumb opening, even without the stud, as you saw right there. Could be a really good option. Here it is compared to the full-size Bugout. You can see what I mean. It looks almost more full-size Bugout in feel than Mini Bugout, but it's got that sub 3-inch blade. So pretty cool option right there. Pricey option. It's pricier than your standard Mini Bugout. So you could always, your replacement could be another Mini Bugout for less money than this, certainly. For an affordable American-made option, check out the Bear Ops Rancor 9, as well as the Mini, which I pulled this one because it's a 2.83-inch blade. Sharpened edge, there it is, compared to the Mini Bugout. It's got a slight bit more, actually. But overall size, you got a lot more handle on this Rancor. It's more full-size Bugout in its overall size. And yet the Mini of this feels considerably more Mini. D2 steel on these, just about $67. Injection molded handle, hollow grind on the drop point blade here. You got your crossbar lock, you got your reversible clip, you got your dual thumb studs. You also have a flipper, and I gotta say the flipper is pretty lackluster, if I'm honest. But the standard crossbar action in a wrist flick, perfectly fine. And for an American-made alternative or more inexpensive backup, at $65, or what did I say, $67, could be a pretty good option for you as well. Lots you could do with that knife. You can, if you look outside the American-made stuff, I know you said that is your preference, but like I said, just as another possible alternative, if you're looking to spend as little money as possible to get something sort of like the Mini Bugout, and I do say sort of like, check out the Boker Magnum Rock Stub. These are like $32 to $34, depending on which handle you get. This is the Micarta version, 440B stainless, so it's not lighting the world on fire there. But man, it is inexpensive. It is got a shortened blade, or it has a short blade, I should say, like the Mini Bugout, but a much more substantial feel in the hand. This is, not quite the ultralight knife, certainly, but it's compact. It has excellent, actually truly excellent crossbar locking action, and actually cuts a little bit bigger than its small size would suggest. Deep carry pocket clip, not reversible, unfortunately, if you're dealing with a left-handed situation, but could also make a pretty good alternative. Check that out. All right, now we come to the lightning round for today. First question comes from Bob Carpentier 7349. Hello DCA, I have mostly budget knives, and my question is on crossbar lock knives. Is there a way to adjust when a knife stops before closing completely? My opening actions are all smooth, whether stud, flipper, or thumb hole with good lockup, Bar lock releases fine and blades drop free, but stop short of being fully closed. I know what you're talking about, and that has to do with the way a crossbar lock works, where you've got this crossbar pushed forward by springs. It's always providing pressure on the blade more or less, and that can happen, as you can see right here. Not a mark of quality or disquality. Disquality in a knife? I wonder if that's actually a word.
Well, you could be disqualified.
We should start a DCA dictionary of all the words I make up right here. So what happens is, when that happens, or what you're doing unconsciously when that happens, is you're not holding the crossbar lock back the whole time during the closing action. And it's easy to get a feel for once you realize it, but if you let go, see, I have a hard time even not getting it to do, or getting it to fail. So you'll find that if you've released that lock too early, it will do that. But if you have the lock fully pulled back the whole time, it'll have no problem closing. And I'd say, so washer-based pivots like that on this Gerber and on these Benchmades, for example, are maybe a little more prone to it versus some of the newer ball bearing-based pivots we've seen. But this Real Steel Sacred, KnifeCenter exclusive here for about 60 bucks, with K110 D2 steel, which is quite nice. Even with ball bearings, like, I can do that. You can see I can actually walk that blade closed because the bar is putting pressure on it. But just get a feel for it. Actually, that's a perfect tie into the thing we were talking about with sharpening. It's a little bit of a feel thing. It's not quite an adjustment thing, probably, in your case. Hope that helps. Next question comes from Artelind SSB. Hello DCA, lightning round question for you. If you could only go to one knife convention, which one would it be? Hands down, that has got to be Blade Show, first weekend of June, every year in Atlanta, like the Blade Show. It's the place. It's the biggest in the world. Everyone who's anyone is going to be there, and it's a good time. Blade Show West did just take place, I guess about 2 weeks ago now. I was there without Thomas, which is why the videos looked a little bit different than they usually do when we go to shows, but that was fun too, and you could check out the coverage of that show in the link to the playlist somewhere.
All the links.
Either here or down there. But yeah, if I could only pick one, it's definitely Atlanta. And that's cool, because that means I could still go to SHOT Show, where there's a lot of knives, but that's really more of a shooting, hunting show.
It is.
So I can still go to both. That's a good time. Well, now we come to our final question of the day, which is, of course, our most serious question of the day, which comes from Cody Cohn, 7559. Hey, DCA, if you had to choose a knife to be a superhero, which one would you choose and why? Well, I'm sure you've seen the Sport carcass splitter here on the table, and you might expect me to go with something like this behemoth, but I'm not. If I had to pick, it would definitely be the Case Peanut. Here's why. I'm actually answering this question seriously and not super humorously.
Most seriously.
It's real easy to seem heroic when you've got the power of something like this. But it takes more to be heroic when you're starting with something small like the Case Peanut. And how many times, if we're being honest with ourselves, has a little knife like this truly saved the day? More times than we can count, I'm sure. Well, that's all we've got for today. Thank you all for your questions. If you have questions of your own, leave them in the comments, please, and we'll see if we can squeeze them into a future episode. If you want to get your hands on any of these knives, check out the links in the description. That'll take you over to theknifecenter.com, where, of course, we've got our long-running Knife Rewards program where you can earn 10%, sometimes even more if you're buying double points items, towards a future purchase. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. And that's Safety Seth over there doing something. He's gone now. We'll see you next time.